We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone is well. You join us here at a very damp Valencia after yesterday's very damp qualifying at Valencia. I think I'm joined by Tice as it stands at the moment in this commentary box. Are you there, Tice?
I most certainly am.
What have we missed so far? I mean, can you give us a 45-second summary of the first 3 hours of this event?
It was dry and then it wasn't. Everyone, I think, has had a drive-through for track limits, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's been a very, very eventful race. Yeah, good. Arnu has basically led from lights to flag at this point. So looks like he's probably going to take a fairly easy win. The weather is starting to ease up. We expect to go back to dry conditions probably in the next 15 minutes. Track is currently damp, ambient 30 degrees. Yeah, good race.
Good, and what's on the forecast? Are we looking for rain throughout now, or hour and a half to go? What we expecting to see?
My belief is that we had about an hour and a half of dry. We've had about an hour and a half of wet. So my belief is that we will probably have the final hour dry, but as with all things Kunos weather related, who knows?
Absolutely. Now, one thing I should point out is this afternoon's commentary will have commentary breaks in it. Tess and I have done a fair bit of commentating this week, so we do need some time to sort some other bits out in the background. So there may be periods of silence. However, we will be here for the vast majority of the action on your screens as we're currently riding on board with the leader by some margin as well, it should be said.
Yeah, it's I mean, it was a convincing pole position yesterday, and it's been a pretty convincing drive from here on out. It's yeah, good conditions for Anu and Hayo. They've driven very well.
They have indeed, and one of the closest battles on track at the minute is actually for P6. Danny McCutcheon currently leads that battle, and he's shortly followed behind by P7 and P8, with P9 not too far down the road behind him. About a second covers this group of cars as it stands at the minute. All of which you'd say are quite good wet running cars, so it all depends on what setups they've activated. In terms of close battles, though, the P14 battle here with Kevin Wetzel there is spicing up as well. He's got a McLaren for company behind him, driven by Rob Gravestein, and so the number 988 there is currently eyeing up that P14 position.
Yeah, there's good battles throughout. Another one of our own, Mike Wilson in car 3, the Lamborghini. He's had a good race so far. I think they might be the only car that weren't on a track cut the last time I checked. But yeah, lots of battles throughout. We've got the 225 McLaren P2 on merit. Van der Steeg in the number 2 Aston, trying to claw his way back into the podium positions after a little mistake. Won himself a free drive-through. Yeah, this race today has mostly been about who can stay out of trouble, who can keep it within the track limits, not get penalties, and just drive your laps. And I think that's what we're seeing.
And it should be pointed out that this rain, although it's wet, is not affecting these cars too badly. To put it in perspective, these cars are averaging about a second and a half, 2 seconds a lap slower than what they were in the dry conditions. So it's not like Formula One where you'd see a good 30-second gap on some circuits. Here it's barely noticeable. It's just a different way of driving, a different way of racing side by side in the wet. As these three now go and start their next lap for P6 as it stands. We'll just jump back on board with Van der Steeg here in the number 2 QRT sports car. He's got a nice gap behind him, a 45-second gap behind him, and he's chasing down that P3 position, who actually I think has just... no, he hasn't dived into pits. I thought he had. And you can see the QRT there car trying to pass him up behind as well. Oh, a little bit of... brake snap. That is round. He is round. P3 is round, and that is going to gift the position back to Van der Steeg. He's about to take that P3 spot, and he's back on the podium after Valdehar there managed to just get a little bit over the top on the brakes there, and the car snapped with nothing he was able to do. We'll just ride on board with his helmet cam as that happened, and you can see he gets a little bit out of shape as he enters the corner. Thinks he's got it back, and unfortunately I don't think he managed to hold it. So here, yeah, you can see he thinks he's got it back. He's now all out of shape, and he just loses it, and he goes into a full spin there. And I think he's lucky that that's only put him back down to P4, because I think if the pack had been a bit more bunched up, he'd have lost quite a few places from that mistake there, Tice.
Definitely, he's basically put himself back to P4, like you said. He's got his teammate, I think, in the 303 Ferrari behind him, so maybe there might be some team orders about to take place. But yeah, silly mistake. Gifted Van der Steeg back onto the podium. It was probable he was going to get that anyway. He did look considerably quicker, but spinning it has basically guaranteed that was going to happen. So I wonder if Van der Steeg can do anything about P2 with a little under an hour and a half to go.
Based on his pace, it's certainly a possibility. He is currently lapping in the in the high 40s. The car in front also lapping in the high 40s. So it's certainly not out of the equation. This 30-second gap there is about 2/10 a lap faster. So if we're going to see anything there, it will be towards the end of this race, when the drivers are probably all swapped around in a way, and we've served a number of pit stops. One of the mentions I'm going to give at the moment, and Tice has been in the stewards box this morning as well, also looking at the car 69 there, who he's lighting up my timing screen here with a 1 drive-through penalty, 1 stop-go 10 and 2 stop-go 30s in this one race. So they have had some eventful communications with race control this afternoon, to say the least.
Yes, yeah, there's been a couple of cars that have come across my desk a couple more times than you otherwise would like. Although, to be fair, I don't think they've put too much of a foot wrong recently, so hopefully after the 5th penalty they got their act together. Just looking at the weather conditions, obviously we had a prolonged period of dry, and I do wonder if there's a bit of a discrepancy in setup. I think that there might be some teams that have elected to run a hybrid setup, and some teams that might have elected for a dry setup, which could show why there's a bit of a pace discrepancy between some cars now. We'll see if that flips itself back around in the next 10 to 15 minutes, when I expect the track will go to dry and will very quickly ramp back up again.
Yeah, 100%. And just quickly, very back on that Van der Steeg question that you asked me a few minutes ago, whether you think we could do anything about the P2 position there. His last lap was a second faster than the car in front, but he has found himself a second further back from the car. So obviously, where they're both improving, they are both improving enough to do what it takes as it stands at the minute to maintain that P2 and P3 position. Io Holman, then a current race leader as it stands there for the number 1 car. He is about to start his 96th lap of this race, and they have nearly a 60-second advantage on the next nearest car as they race down. Now, the BMW here probably is the smart choice for mixed weather. The BMW or the Aston both have what it takes to be able to do what it can in the weather conditions that we are currently facing. Aidan Evans has just managed to make that move as well on board there with both Ferraris side by side. We've been watching that one unfold for a little bit now, Thomas.
Yeah, definitely. You can see the lap times that the track is really starting to ramp up. Yes, there's still rain at the moment, but it is light rain. You know, people starting to go second and a half quicker than they previously had been. So definitely going to start ramping up. It's going to be interesting who takes that switch to dry tyres. Who's brave? Who's cautious? You don't want to really spend a lap around here on dry tyres if it's still damp or greasy, I wouldn't have thought. And you can find yourself not only losing time overall, but if you slide off, catch yourself a drive through, that could be a race defining moment. So a lot of decisions to go. I do actually have a little bit of inside information. The 225 car, they are a team of 2. However, the second driver has had some kind of technical gremlin where they're not able to take control of the vehicle. So the 225 pilot at the moment is going to have to see the entire race out. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep this pace up for the next hour and a half, having already been in the car for 2.5 hours. No,
yeah, that's good information there, as Kevin Vasels just picks up a yellow flag, but nothing too much to worry about there. We were riding on board there with Aidan Evans, who has been chasing down Orlick's for the last couple of laps now, and actually, to be honest, for the whole race, really. The Orlick's car in front there, so the car number 30 is currently running with a drive-through that's been served, so that's a drive-through in hand that's been completed and no longer poses an issue to the race. They are looking fairly stable as it stands at the minute, but this gap is going from 1.3 seconds to 0.3 seconds as the race goes on. Obviously, blue flag's now playing a factor, which is Aidan Evans has managed to actually negotiate with the 69 car there. And obviously we're going to wait to see how this plays out now, but this will be damaging this battle with Aidan Evans, and whether the stewards will pick up on this or not, I don't know. Oh, the T1SR car there getting a little bit out of shape, and that is going to unfortunately allow the 69 car back through, having just handed the position over under blue flags. What's going to happen here as the bunch back up? The 69 holding its position, which is more than entitled to do. That's not a problem. It just can't block or defend. So no issues here.
There have actually been a couple of penalties today for ignoring blue flags. It is a tricky circuit. It is quite short. There's certainly some sections where it is difficult to let a faster car through.
Yes.
It's something that we've tried to be mindful of, but there are certainly also plenty of good places to let a faster car through. So, yeah, it is something that the stewards are looking at. So if it is reported, we will take action.
Yeah, I can see it. And then obviously the 69 car then going back through again seems to be racing these cars for position. I'm sure the stewards will be looking into this, but the blue flags here, the stewards' arms will be falling off soon, I should imagine, with the marshals waving those blue flags. What that does do, though, is it does put the 224 back into competition there with the Ferrari, who snap oversteers once again in these wet conditions, and he is going to be increasingly infuriated by this 69 car, who is currently failing to adhere to blue flags. Although I would say, Tyson, in their defence, they're a little bit up the road now.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, you are allowed to unlap yourself as long as you do it cleanly. You're then typically given a lap to pull at least 3/4 of a second away. You know, obviously we prefer it if it's a second and you just drive off. But you know, as long as you start pulling clear daylight between you and the car that you've unlapped yourself from, you probably won't find yourself in too much bother from the stewards. It's only if you do, like you say, you know, start battling with them, and you know, that's not what we want to see. You know, it's about racing. If you're a blue flag car, it's unfortunate, but you just have to accept your fate, unfortunately, at that point.
You do, and at the end of the day, you're not racing that car for position. You're never going to be in a position where you take a car back. To put that in perspective, the 69 car is just about to start lap 91, and the car that they're battling with is just about to start lap 97. So there's a big gap there, and that's certainly not been made up. So it is a case of why hinder other people. But what I will say is I can't moan about these conditions with the 69 car at the minute, because he's cleared off and he's no longer blocking anybody. And what I will say is, we'll just jump on board with the helmet cam, is I think the rain has stopped.
It certainly has.
So this is going to dry out nicely, and what we can do quite evilly as commentators, we can hope that the track conditions are just at the wrong point for the driver swap in a bit of a while when they change tyres, which gives us some very interesting racing.
Yeah, so the stint timer today is 1 hour 15 minutes, so you've got about 5 minutes to go until you can get away with making your final stop. So it'll be interesting to see who has to do that, who elects to run a little bit later to maybe get optimal conditions. So yeah, there's a lot to play for. I am going to quickly nip back over to the steward's room. There is an incident that needs my urgent attention, so I shall be back in just a moment.
No problem, Josh. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to leave us on board with these battles for the moment, and your commentary will resume for the last 50 minutes of this race, and then we will take it from there, and we will take you to the checkered flag with these drying conditions. back with you for the final 36 minutes of this race, which has been through the wet, the dry, the damp, the moist, the greasy, the green, and we're back to what I can only assume is a fully dry track again now. I'm back here with Tice Payne, who has been doing some ad hoc stewarding for us today as well. Lots has happened since our last comms break, including Justin De Jong retaking that P2 position that he so desperately was working towards, and Danny McCutcheon maintaining the 12th position with a little bit of a spin as well. Lots going on track, Tice. 35 minutes to go. Anything could happen.
Definitely. The information that I've got is that De Jong will have to make another pit stop, or at least a drive-through for stint timer issues. So P2 is not guaranteed. I don't know if P3 or P4 are equally under that limitation, but certainly De Jong, I think, has got a pit stop to make for his stint timer. So definitely one to watch there. Gap's big enough, they might get away with the drive-through. More information, we've got Chris Bell, Mike Wilson in the number 3 Lamborghini chasing down Redfern in the 74 Ferrari. That looks like it will go to the end as well. Yeah, Danny McCutcheon's having a pretty good race today. He's had a couple of little spills and thrills, but on the whole, a very good race for him, as he often does. The 225 McLaren was sat in P2. Not sure what's happened to them. They've dropped back a little bit. And yeah, there's just action up and down, to be honest. It's been fairly close. There's good battles pretty much all over the place.
Yeah, and just to point out as well that in the top 10, the only cars to have any form of penalty is the current P2 runners with one drive-through. The rest of them have scathed drive-throughs, so they're doing well to maintain the P2 position. The closest battle on track as it stands at the minute is for P8, with Boshansky and Schmidt not too far behind. You can see here, obviously, some blue flags in the way, so it's not just as it seems, but riding on board with the rear wing there, you can see the 992 chasing down the McLaren, which is opening things up quite nicely. In terms of position gains, our biggest winner of the race so far is the P7, 472. Lewis Robinson, the current driver, started P20, currently running P7, so 13 positions gained from them. They're having an incredible race, and they would be my current driver of the day. And then while we're at it, we may as well go to the other end of the spectrum with the car 69 there with Theo de Veer that's currently driving, and they started P14 and they're now down in P29, Tice. They are 15 places down when they started this race.
Yeah, unfortunately the 69 car has had a bit of a shocker today. I'm fairly sure that is not representative of how they typically drive, but been a few silly incidents, a few penalties in there. They've been across my desk a good number of times today. So, yeah, hopefully that's not indicative of how that team likes to go racing.
Absolutely not.
This is a blip.
Closest battle on track now is for P12, Danny McCutcheon and Alexander Orlix as well. So the Ferrari versus Ferrari as it stands at the minute. Team versus team, blue versus blue, T1SR versus T1SR. Sponsored by the Fuel Can Shop. You can see there on the rear wings that they are currently battling for that P12 position. Schmidt and Boshanki there as well, side by side, I believe, unless that is for a blue flag. They're too far back, so the Porsche that's now currently behind is sat where it needs to be. Thank you for the follows, those that are jumping up in the chat as it stands at the minute. We have got 30 minutes left of this 4-hour race of Valencia, which has been filled with thrills and overtakes from the moment the lights went out. We're riding on board with Tim Boshansky at the moment, who is currently being hunted down by Schmidt in the 992 Porsche, not too far behind him as it stands at the minute. You can see there the Porsche lining them up for a move round the inside, covered off the inside there. Porsche tucking back in, no option for him. We'll ride on board with him now and see how things go for him down into turn 1. Porsche versus Ferrari, Tice in a straight line. My money would be on the Ferrari.
I think I'd probably put my money on the Porsche, to be honest. The Ferrari's a bit of a dog in a straight line, but much better on the brakes, so that might be the deciding factor.
It is, and you've got a little bit of traffic here as well, which won't be helping. So Ferrari versus Porsche should say, It's going to shape up nice over the next 30 minutes, these two battling for that position. Again, pit stop times. They're both Tim has served 3 pit stops, and the Schmidt Porsche there has served 2. So we can expect the Porsche to have to come in once again at some point soon. Now I should say that the data we have available to us has only been live for the last 3 hours, I should say. So anything that happened in that first hour will not be available to us on our statistics. In terms of speed, current speed, one of the fastest cars currently on track by a long way is actually our race leader, Arnaud de la Souce, there in the speed trap in the M4, which is not a car you'd necessarily expect to see fastest through the pit stops, but certainly one that they'll be happy with. They've taken 3 pit stops so far, which is the average amount for this point of the race, and Justin De Jong, who's chasing down, that's 2 minutes behind, has served 4. So we believe they've got to stop again. As previously mentioned, P7 Lewis Robinson is currently the biggest net gain of this race, gaining 13 positions since lights out. So that is an incredible race for them. Potential lap time on the board at the minute. Fastest potential there is for Arnaud de la Souce. A 1:32 or 1:99 is what's predicted in the computer as it stands at the minute. So it thinks he's got 3/10 to spare somewhere along the line. Let's see what comes back of that.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a lot of battles to go. Doesn't look like we're going to get any more weather change towards the end of the race. So it could remain dry. Track temperature and ambient temperature will continue to drop a little bit, which I know people will be pleased with. Rear tyres have been screaming today. We've actually seen a couple of cars get rear right punctures in the wet to dry crossover, which scuppered a few people. I'm quickly going to nip back over to the stewards room, Roppy. I do apologise. I've got one final ticket to review as our live stewarding has just closed. So I'm going to quickly go and adjudicate that, and we'll see if that has any bearing on the outcome.
Yeah, providing that ticket was logged within the, more than 20 minutes ago, because 30-minute window, so I'm hoping the stewards are keeping an eye on that. We don't want to be giving out penalties when they shouldn't be, but I'll leave that one to you, Tice, and we'll wait for you to come back. We're riding on board then with De La Souce, our current race leader, 131 laps under his belt, or under his tyres, I should say. Not yet really put a foot wrong. 2 of them in the car there, Hayo Horman and Arnaud de la Souce, the car number 1 drivers there, doing particularly well as it stands. Justin De Jong, currently in P2, just clearing away some traffic behind him there, and perhaps they're also not too far behind that 304 car, which I think we need to mention the livery on that. It is a stunning livery. They've done a great job with their liveries there, and they look fantastic, as we're just a little bit side by side here, Ferrari versus Ferrari, not to be mistaken with the Ferrari versus Ford, more nostalgic battle. Krylenko then as well is the teammate of that car, the 303, just starting his 131st lap as well, using all of the track he's paid for there as he comes into turn 1 on the brakes quite nicely, keeping the car straight and sealed as well as he now enters towards sector 2. Closest battle on track at the minute. We've got 2 to pick from. We've got the battle for P5 as it stands at the minute. Some Jan Gilliot with Reese Crowther there side by side into turn 1. No, bumper to bumper I should say. And the other one is this fight with the 992 Porsche, which has been going on for a number of laps now. And it really will be interesting to see how this shapes up, because the Porsche is all over the back of the Ferrari in sector 2, and then sector 1 and 3 the Ferrari takes off once again. You can see there that the Porsche just struggling for traction a little bit on the exits of those corners. Right on board with Gillot then for the time being. Let's see how this shapes up on his rear wing. Ferrari line them up. These are for big hauls of points, so the drivers will be really working for this now. A little bit wide there. They're going to be side by side, curb to curb. The Ferrari's going to have the inside line here. The McLaren's going to have to back out slightly, and that then opens the door for Reese Crowther there, who's been working on that position for quite some time now in this contact. This contact which spins the 224 round and punts him out of the way. That is not a great move from the McLaren. Let's see if the McLaren gives that position back before the stewards deal with that. It would be a good opportunity for him to do so. There is a 30-second gap behind him. We will see what happens there. The smart thing to do would be to return that position with that such a big gap behind them, but we'll see what occurs there. So this 992 fight, as you can see, is becoming quite the battle as it stands at the minute. We'll ride on board. I'll be back with Tim for a couple of seconds and see how that looks.
I am back.
Just saying, Tice, we've just been on board with two of the closest battles. So there's a battle for P8 at the minute, led by Tim Bosansky there. There's 4 cars in that battle, and that's getting spicier and spicier. Cars behind, stereotypical, are faster, but just can't get by. The other battle we've been on board with was Gilliat and Reese Crowther. Crowther managed to make a splendid move. Splendid? We'll go with that. That's a word now.
Splendid?
Splendid word.
Stupendous.
Either way, a fantastic move, but unfortunately he was subject to being punted out of the way by the McLaren. So I'm sure the stewards will be picking that up post-race, because unfortunately there was no easy way around that. The sensible thing would have been for the McLaren to let the position go back again, because there's 35 seconds behind them. They'd have lost nothing, but unfortunately now that'll be going to post-race stewarding, and Reese Crowther is already gaining the gap again, so the race may go from bad to worse for the 225 as it stands at the minute. Riding back on board then with the splitter of Schmidt, who is racing the Ferrari in the 992 Porsche. This battle has been going on for days now, and the 992 just cannot get by. He really is trying everything he can, but it's just not working for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating one. I mean, also, quickly to go back to the 224 Ferrari Crowther, the final incident that was logged before the live stewarding closed was actually involving the 224. They've managed to pick themselves up what I feel is a 10-second penalty, so that may have a bearing. I don't know if the 472 car is close enough for that to be relevant. But we'll have to wait and see at the end of the race. 24 minutes to go. 24
minutes to go, lots to play for. Riding on board then with Schmidt still, the driver of the 992 Porsche. Thank you very much for the follow. AC88 Racing, we're riding on board with the 992. Schmidt, a driver there. As you can see, he is taking us down now towards the final turn. And he is all over the back of this Ferrari and has been for some time. Last time he managed to get alongside, but not quite close enough. Tice, this time I think he's a lot closer, and this time he may be able to do it.
Yeah, it's not a huge braking event though at the end of this straight, so it's a very brave move to get it done if you do go for it.
Oh, we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah,
we knew that was going to happen. That's been waiting to happen for quite a few laps.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what that has done though has taken Schmidt from P8 to P10. And he's now in a lot of blue flag traffic. So this really has damaged his race.
Yeah, it really has. Like I said, turn 1 is only really an overtaking move if you are fully alongside the car that you're trying to overtake. That's a shame. You kind of knew that was going to happen as they arrived.
That was shaping up to be something nice. But back on board then with this battle, which I'm sure will be brilliant to watch, is Matt Redfern versus Danny McCutcheon then, who T1SR versus Big Brain Racing. Let's see what happens. Side by side then, as they come through this very tricky complex. I'm just trying to get on board with the external TV cameras there. McCutcheon tucks up the inside, Redfern goes back. And do you know what? I think Redfern's probably gone. That's not particularly my race today, so it almost looks like he let that one happen. So Lewis Robinson then P5, the Aston Martin, who has capitalised massively on all the shenanigans that's been taking place between P6 and P14 today. They have been doing exceptionally well. We are looking now at Justin De Jong, who has managed to have a little bit of a recovery race back to P2, and in the Aston Martin, which in the rain was absolutely stupendous, which is now a word. Let's see where they managed to bring it back. But Tim Brushansky, who has been battling for the position...
He's just got a drive-through. He's literally just flagged up for a drive-through.
Which is a shame, because they've been battling Reese Crowther again. So it's almost like the stewards don't want us to race it with him. I think we're watching an episode of Formula 1 as it stands at the minute. So the stewards obviously doing their job and done a fantastic job this race. Can't criticise them. And as I said earlier, if you may remember, I said the computer was forecasting De La Souce being able to do a 32.1 during this stint. 2 laps ago, he set that exact time with a 32.127. So there is some logic to these calculations, guys.
Definitely. intriguing that the number 9 car's managed to pick up a drive-through, even though it's a fairly short penalty here. It's only about 25 seconds. That is going to drop them out of the top 10, I would have thought. Ukic, about in the 39 Mustang, currently sat in P10. You see the 69 car picking up what is probably their 4th or 5th drive-through for track limits today, going from bad to worse there. Chris Bell's not really making any inroads into Redfern now, which is a bit of a shame. Danny McCutcheon on the move. He's got Graverstein just up the road, I think. No, he's lost the position, I think, to Redfern
He
somewhere.
has. I think McCutcheon's had a little bit of a spin, potentially, by the looks of it. He's currently 1:20 down. Sorry, he's currently 6 seconds down on 1:20 lap time. So he's lost 6 seconds this lap. So he's taken a little trip off somewhere. I do believe, unless I'm making this up, I think he is a solo driver. So there may be he is a solo driver. So there will be an element of tiredness for this race that he will now be facing. Tim Brzezinski comes into the pits to serve his drive-through. Let's see where he is going to end up when he comes out. And there he is exiting now, the number 9 car. He slots back in behind the QRT car by the looks of things there on a lap down. And I think he comes out there P10, Tice, by the looks of things.
It does look like it, yeah. It'd be interesting to see if he remains there. It does say, no, he's dropped down P10. We'll have to wait for the sector time to update to see where the 30 car is in relation. Currently it says there's a gap 44 seconds. I don't think it's that long, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on the timing screens and see what shakes loose.
Absolutely, and one of the closest battles on tap then now that pit stop's finished, sorry, is the Belensky fight, which of course he's just served his 1 drive-through penalty with Mads Pedersen not too far behind. You can see there shaking all over the curb, manages to tame the McLaren as well as he possibly can. Matt Redfern then is starting to make inroads into Gravestone in front of him, the 988 car, as Mads Pedersen allegedly has taken a little bit of a trip off the track. Let's see what's happened to him there. Yeah, just a little bit eager on the brakes and high-speed brakes, and very nearly collected the leader there, Tice.
Yeah, that would not have pleased the Frenchman at all. He had a bit of a shaky one on Thursday. He's delivered again today along with Hyo. So, you know, they're not going to want to get caught up by some backmarker shenanigans and take that win away from them. So, yeah, probably for the best they didn't hit him.
Absolutely, and like I say, so here the problem with Valencia as well. Valencia is a very difficult track to adhere to blue flags on, as we've said earlier. So that's probably why we've seen some harsher penalties for the blue flags. I mean, yes, it's a technical track, but equally there's plenty of deep hairpins that drivers could take to allow to go by. Apparently, we are told that the 445 currently has a rear left puncture.
They
Mads
do,
Pedersen,
yes.
They do, and that is from that
Yeah, they
spin.
do.
How hot were their tyres, Tice?
Yeah, I mean they've got to be pretty high. You're looking north of 105, 110 degrees potentially to invoke that, or they've hit a curb as well, and that's absolutely knackered them. So, yeah, full pit stop for them. Probably going to drop them back to 15th, maybe 16th.
Well,
not even stationary yet.
Currently, based on the predictions that they are in the pit lane, they're going to be stopped for another 30 seconds. I would say that's probably going to comfortably bring them out in sort of around P18, P19, if not worse. So they really have just had a hell of a wake-up call. We'll have a quick look at the leader again as he's about to complete their 139th lap of this race. They've been doing fantastically well. De Jong not too far behind as well. And Pabs there, who is currently 31.5 seconds behind Pabs. So with that in mind, De Jong taking the drive-through to reset the stint timer, he should be covered off nicely, but with very little margin for error. So if they hopefully they take the drive-through rather than the pit stop. But we will see what happens with those. Let's just go back to Danny McCutcheon once again, who apparently is giving Matt Redfern a little bit of a run for his money, and he is. He's going to send it up the inside there, side by side as they come around there. What a beautiful move that was.
Yeah,
and
all
once
three of
again,
them battling for position. Graverstein at the front of that.
100%, and McCutcheon there has done a fantastic job when he said, thank you very much, let's get after the next one. And you can see he's already making indents into the time in front there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all of this battling might actually help Chris Bell and Mike Wilson in the number 3 Lambo. They are trying to close into the back of this battle, so the longer that these guys are going side by side, running each other around, defending. You know, that's bringing that car back into play.
McCutcheon made not one but two move there, two position gains in one sector. He's on a mission.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying at the moment. Last lap was a low 33, so you got to say he's probably looking at a mid 32 for actual race pace now that he's got some clear air. Redfern then is going to be all over the back of Gravestein. Let's see if that is going to be another battle that hots up into this lap. And I think Redfern's actually got somebody just behind him. Might be a lapped car. Or it's the 445 of Peterson who's joined the fray after their puncture.
P16 is what he's got, and then we know that Peterson there. We know he's got the pace to challenge the front runners. So in theory, he shouldn't make too much ends meet out of these drivers he's got in front of him now. It looks like he's already dispatched Redfern into turn one. By the looks of things, you can see there he's running side by side with him. He's got the McLaren in front of him, and then the Ferrari of McCutcheon a bit further up. And they go, and Redfern's done and gone, and yep, and that is the 445 back up into P15. That's a bit of a recovery drive for them now.
Redfern's tyres, I think, are done. They're hot. They're towards the end of the stint. They've probably done about an hour on them at the moment. Peterson is going to be a man on a mission. Fresh tyres, low fuel, one McLaren. That thing is rapid around here if you can keep it tamed. So yeah, Peterson is going to be trying to claw back as many of these positions as he can. But what goes with that is desperation. You know, if you go for the move, don't get it quite right, tap someone, find yourself with a penalty, all of that work undone. But all of this squabbling has allowed Chris Bell to catch back up a little bit. So not all done for the mid-table positions.
No, absolutely not. And like I say, things are going to shape up quite nicely. But what I will say, if you're in the chat now watching this race, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, follow this channel. We are live on a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Saturday and a Sunday with the latest battling action. We're also live occasionally on a Friday evening with the qualifying sessions for these races as well. Don't forget to give those subscribe and follows. Your support in the chat is what allows us to be able to produce and display this on-track action. As Peterson's P14 is about to start his 178th lap of this race, he has got some work to do, Tice.
Yeah, definitely. He's got a lot of work to do. He has got those fresh tyres, like I say, it's low fuel, gaps 3.5 seconds to McCutcheon, but as we've seen, McCutcheon is no slouch, so I think it's a tall order for him to get past McCutcheon here, as he's got his eyes set on Straightman's in the 296 Ferrari P12. So yeah, 13 minutes to go. Quite a lot of frenetic action going to happen here for this the 10th through to 16th grid position. I don't think anybody knows how this is going to pan out yet. Redfern absolutely struggling for grip that I can see on my other monitor there. He's, yeah, I think his tyres have had enough. He's actually being caught up to be unlapped by, I think, our silver race winner from Thursday, Tyler Norris, in the 43 BMW. Looks like he's getting all kinds of held up at the moment, as we've got a yellow flag for the 29 car, which is the 69 McLaren. They've gone off again. That is not a great return on investment, I don't think.
Have a quick look at what happened to them there. I mean, fair play to them for still running. They are a significant number of laps down. Yeah, a little bit loose under the throttle there, application, and unfortunately couldn't retain the track. But at this stage of a race, people's tyres are all over, and it's not always. New fastest lap, I believe, has just been set by Peterson, who was 4 seconds up on his personal best on that last lap.
31.4.
31.4 is what he's just taken. He really is on a mission, and he is picking off these drivers side by side. Realistically, he could get back into the top 10 this race with 12 minutes to go. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, he's closed the gap from nearly 4 seconds to less than 2 to Danny McCutcheon. So, yeah, with that kind of pace, he might actually still trouble 10th. There's a big old gap, but yeah, he went past P8 like he wasn't even moving. It was such a pace delta that he's got. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how far up this grid he can get now.
Yeah, it will be. Like I say, 10 minutes to go. We're not sure what stint timers look like, but we believe that the P2, Justin De Jong, has got to come through the pits one more time, but has got a buffer behind him if he needs it. Cars are certainly settling out now and tyres are burning out. Let's see how this race concludes, shall we, Tice?
Definitely. Yeah, the data that I've got does suggest that the number 2 Aston will need to take at least a drive-through, or they will be very tight on time if not. So, yeah, there's a few cars that are going to be very, very close on that stint timer. They don't have to take a pit stop. They can reset that timer with just a drive-through, but even then, that's still a 25-second delta that you're going to lose. So, yeah, there's a lot that could go wrong for those cars now.
Absolutely, and we'll just ride on board with this battle for the next couple of laps and see how this transpires.
Yeah, Peterson is all over the back of McCutcheon already. Gap was 2 seconds at this point last lap. It's now under half a second. I think it's a case of when, not if. McCutcheon's going to have to employ every bit of defensive driving capacity he's got here. But if I'm honest, I don't think it's going to be enough. Peterson in that McLaren, absolutely flying. Last lap around was a 31.2. I'm not sure if that was a valid lap though, but yeah, absolutely flying.
They really are. The 131 fourth, put that in perspective, is nearly is a second faster than anyone else on this circuit in the last 4 hours. So that really is something.
Yeah, I mean, that is sensational pace to unload. I mean, it's starting to cool down now. You're going to be under a little bit less pressure to keep those tires under control, but still, that's still got a lot of race distance to cover on those tires. It will be interesting to see if he can keep this pace up as he looks to be lining up a move on McCutcheon here. Like we said before, it's a brave move, but he's going to need to be alongside for T1 to make it work. Bit of rubber banding going on, but yeah, he looks like he's there, and that should be done unless he runs off the track. Just keeps it in, but McCutcheon's gone for the switchback, and there it is. Lovely defensive move as we see Delasus in the pit.
Do see Delasus in the pit, but he has got the time. But you know what they say. Really, they've been fantastic, and they have set the pace lap by lap, and no one got anywhere near to challenge them as such. It's been their own race, and for them, it's just been one long practice session today. I'd be interested to see whether we see a driver swap or not, but see what happens.
Possibly. I mean, there's a possibility that Arnaud just fancied a croissant and has just stopped off for a quick bio break, perhaps, such is the lead that they've got at the moment. As we still see this Peterson-McCutcheon battle rage on. Looks like they're actually taking a full pit stop as well, so maybe they fancy bragging rights for fastest lap.
It is, but it's also worth noting as well that they did have a 2-minute gap. So
so they've got a margin to play with, but we've seen that before. People come in, they get complacent, they take a pit stop, lose a bunch of time they didn't need to, then get involved in something silly, and all of a sudden P1 isn't yours anymore.
The frustration,
don't know if I'd be doing that.
The frustration of Peterson now behind McCutcheon, you can see he's growing. He's going to try and line him up into turn 1 here. This exit is imperative here. It's now race down the straight, and I think you'll find that's going to be a done and dusted deal. McCutcheon getting very aggressive there on the left-hand side. Oh, that's naughty, that was.
Yeah.
That was naughty, but we'll see what the stewards make of that one with the 445 entitled to some space there that perhaps he didn't necessarily get, but we'll see what happens. And nevertheless, for us as spectators, that's the best thing we want to see, as they are now racing side by side once again as McCutcheon desperately tries to hang on to that P13 position.
Yeah, I think McCutcheon knows that on raw pace he's got no answer for the 445, so he's just trying to distract him, trying to move around, just make sure that he can't get that power down. Was a bit of a squeeze. I think for me, he might just get away with it. The McLaren wasn't sufficiently alongside to be entitled to racing room, but we'll have to wait and see what the stewards think when they have a look at that one, if it is reported, which I'm sure it will be, as Peterson goes for a move. What a dive, but he has barged McCutcheon out of the way. That that is a stonewall penalty, I think, from my perspective. Yes, Peterson's faster. Yes, there's been a bit of rubbing, but you can't just throw it down the inside and use the other car as a blocker. That just won't do.
We'll ride on board and watch that back again and see what happened there. Riding on board then with Peterson, obviously, who has just had his nose cut off by the car in front. What does he do here? Is this in frustration? Looks like it's interesting to see what the stewards make of that. That's not one for us on commentary. That's one firmly with the stewards. It looked like the McLaren may have been on the apex, but we'll see what the stewards make of that and if that is reported. But that's Peterson out the way, and one thing I can say for certain, Tice, I would imagine that Peterson will be that far up the road by the end of this race. A penalty won't really matter, but we'll see what happens as this race transpires. Now, Delisu's back out the pits, still got a 34-second lead. He did actually take a very extended pit stop actually there.
Might have had to do a brake change, actually. I know one other car has had to. It's possible. I mean, brake pad 1 will do about 4 hours. The duration of this race has been 4 hours, so it's possible they elected to do a brake change.
What I can tell you as well is the P2, Justin De Jong, has 7 minutes and 40 seconds left in his timer. Pabst, who's in P3, the car 3 or 4, has 7 minutes and 40 seconds left of his stint timer.
Could be okay.
Querlenker has got 8 minutes left of his timer, and there's 12 and 57 minutes. I can tell you now, in the top 10, the only car that will not have to stop again, Tice, other than the leader, will be Reese Acrotha there.
You know what's just happened? Peterson, in his haste to make up places, like I said earlier, picked himself up a drive-through. So all of that pace, all of that hassle, all of that aggravation, and it's all for naught. He's driven angry, and it's probably going to go from bad to worse, as he may well pick up a penalty for that incident there. You know, it's just gone from bad to worse. Tried to make up all that time and has lost it in one fell swoop.
Absolutely. What a shame to see that as well. McCutcheon obviously takes that place back as well. Obviously McCutcheon and Peterson will both have incidents investigated after the race, but we'll see what that looks like with the stewarding team. Delisu's then running his own race as the McLaren in the top right hand corner of your screens there decided to take a wander off into the gravel trap. Not sure who that was. It was probably the 69 car, not to call them out on anything, but I'm going to ride on board with them now. Let's have a quick look at the replay, Tice. Oh, if I've got any money on any McLaren taking a trip in the gravel when they shouldn't have been, it would be them, and they have. There is the M4, so I'm fairly certain I was correct. Let's see what happens here at this braking point. And yes, it was. There they go, into the gravel trap at the corner there.
Yeah, just got it all crossed up, I think, and yeah, not ideal, but fair play to him, sticking with it. You know, it's a tricky track to drive quickly, and it is an easy track to make those mistakes on. The McLaren, a little bit of a handful under braking. But yeah, fair play to him for sticking with it.
Absolutely, Tyson. As we now got 3 minutes and 30 seconds left of this race, we're going to be looking at, I think, 3 more racing laps. The leader currently is 1 minute and 10 seconds away from completing this current lap, so we are going to be looking at 3 more racing laps today, with the M4 taking the McLaren out of the way there on track as it stands at the minute. Closest battle for position is Chris Wutk, as he is currently driving the 199 and battling with Victor Straitmans.
Yeah, a few battles to go. A couple of people picking up those last-minute drive-throughs. We've just seen Amy Lavoie in the 14 Porsche. Just, you know, she's managed to pick up a drive-through as well. There's going to be a few clenched fists, I would imagine, as their spotters are looking at the track cuts, looking at the time remaining. You know, are they going to get a drive-through? Is it going to dramatically change the race? It might. You never know.
You never do know, and obviously this battle is closing up here at the front. One thing's for certain, at the minute, my driver of the day has got to be the 472 Aston Martin there. They actually started down in P20 and they're currently set to take P5. They have got to stop again. They can just serve a drive-through. They've got the gap behind them to only lose the one place if they do that, so P6. So they've had a fantastic race, as we are going to see P2, 3 and 4 have to dive into the pits within the next lap and a half. They should make it across the line without having to stop, providing the leader starts their lap when he starts their lap that's due to start any second now. De La Souza is currently 23 seconds into his lap. He will get this lap completed and another. So we're looking at another 3.5 minutes, Tice. And they have got 4 minutes exactly on their... they've got 3 minutes and 50 seconds. So it's going to be very tight for them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it looks like they might just make it. It's a bold strategy. I don't know if I'd be doing that, but fair play to him. And yeah, the 472 Aston has had a great drive. You know, they've taken what was probably not the best qualifying, and they've turned that into a good race result, staying out of trouble, not getting any penalties, and just driving their race and letting their pace do the talking. So yeah, fantastic. I'll have them as my driver of the day as well.
Absolutely, and that sort of goes unquestioned. De La Souza currently the fastest in Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, and the overall fastest lap with a 1:30.957. So he has said he has responded to Peterson's lap time of the low for 31 and gone, do you know what, I can go faster. So they've put the new set of shoes on.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
Exactly.
And we've got the final lap just starting now.
And it just improved again with a 30.762.
Yeah, well, decided he's going full Max Verstappen, boxing on the final lap to go for the fastest lap.
De Jong is going to need about 2 minutes and 50 seconds, if not slightly more actually. So yeah, about 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and I can tell you now that on their stint time they've got 2 minutes and 20. So this is going to be very tight. They may actually have to finish this race in the pit lane, and they are going to start their final lap now. They've got 1 minute and 34 seconds of the lap time to get, so they should be comfortable by about...
Well, you say comfortable?
Well, yeah, 20 seconds of comfort, so it really will be very interesting. But let's ride on board with the leader then, as they are going to bring it home for the end of this race. They have had a fantastic race, that is for certain, as they go down towards Sector 2 now, bringing it in the final few turns. The M4 has performed well, done everything that they wanted to. You will hear the cheers explode and the champagne stream. The champion who will be forged from the end of this race as he takes the final corner now.
R9 drive through, ignoring stint timer from
De La
P9.
Souza reigns, his skill has been untamed, and at Valencia his name is now of the P1 and the champions of round 2 of the QRT Endurance Championship 2025. Riding on board with De Jong then. He is the next one to cross the line. He is going to cross the line with less than 30 seconds left on his stint timer, which is just either a very fortunate accident or a very very well calculated strategy. One of the two. We'll see how that shapes up. By my calculations...
he's nearly dropped it.
He's very nearly dropped that when he didn't want to. He's going to cross the line, Tice, with literally 30 seconds left on his stint timer. What a result that is. That's a QRT 1-2 for the two boys. Well done, gentlemen.
Right through for ignoring stint timer for the 988 of Gravestein as well. That's going to be translated into a 30-second penalty.
This is my driver of the day, Lewis Robinson, the 472 car. He's currently driving with Roy Blues as well. They started P20. They're going to finish P5. What a race for them. 15 positions gained.
Yeah, fantastic return. Yeah, two teams tried to brave it with their stint timers. They've both got 30-second penalties. As a result of that, Gravestein is probably going to drop, I would imagine, out of the top 20 potentially, at least out of the top 18. Yeah, that's not gone well. And Bashansky, number 9 Ferrari, finished P8, but with a penalty, he might actually just keep his P8 because Orlix was 31.6 seconds behind him. He was safe by 1.6 seconds with that penalty, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, that was an absolutely fantastic race for everyone involved with there. There was so much going on from start to finish. It really was quite the race. Yeah,
absolutely sensational. Love that. It was a great race. Good to get on and get some comms for it as well. Yeah, what a return. Love these endurance seasons.
Absolutely. And we will be back on, well, Tyson will be back Thursday night, and you'll have Raven tomorrow night.
Yes, yeah,
Thank
should be
you
a
very
good
much.
one.